EHCP stands for the Easy Hosting Control Panel. So what exactly is EHCP Force? Well, EHCP Force is a forked version of the original EHCP. And what does EHCP do? It's software that allows you to host multiple websites and run a web server on any computer. So what does this mean? Well, like if you go to google.com, you're accessing a domain name, and that domain name is resolving to a web server which has a software on it that tells the browser what to do with your request for that website and what to return to the client. And so you need web server software if you want to host websites, and typically this type of software costs money. And then also it may not have very many features or an easy to use control panel. Well, EHCP 4th edition has everything. It's a control panel, and it also installs the web server software you need to run your own websites, to host other people's websites, to charge other people money and make money from hosting websites on a dedicated server. So that's what EHCP 4th edition is, and this is what it looks like after you've installed it and you run it as the admin. You have several features that you can run. You can install all sorts of scripts, forum software, and anything you want for a website, and all you need to do is purchase domain names from a registrar like GoDaddy is where you can get a domain name, and then you can host it from your own server. And the advantages to this is you have unlimited resources, you have what you want, no one else controls your files. So EHCP 4th edition provides that, and it's open source software. It is web server software that will make your life a lot easier if you want to host websites. Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to install EHCP 4th edition for Linux. It's an open source hosting control panel that sets up everything you need for a web server. So it comes with Apache, VSFTPD, and everything else you need, MySQL, PHP. It integrates everything and installs it and creates a control panel for you to use that is free and open source. I am the author of it, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to install on your box. So this is a fresh install of Ubuntu 14.04, as you can see from the information on my left over here in the terminal window. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this these commands to get going, and we're going to install it. And so we're at the EHCP homepage, which is ehcpforce.tk. This is a forked version of the original EHCP. It has a lot more new features in it, and it also just works properly out of the box. It should work on all versions of Ubuntu 10 and up, and that's the operating system and distro we are specifically targeting. EHCP had some problems before in the past with the new versions of Ubuntu and getting the packages to work, and that's a pain, but I think that's more of Ubuntu's fault. But I've worked around those and created fixes for that stuff, so it should just be smooth as butter. Alright, so let's get started on the install. I'm going to install it in unattended mode, which means it's just going to generate a bunch of credentials. But this is actually pretty much the most secure way to install EHCP anyways, because you want random passwords for just about everything. So I'm just going to type in Y. And all this information is saved in your root directory in the EHCP info file. And I'm not going to install a Mavis or Spam Assassin or ClamAV. You can, and it should work. I test these quite a bit through virtual machines just like this. So it should be working. Installer does take a little bit of time, but it should require no interaction based on how it's been set up if you run it through the non-interactive mode. If you run it in the other mode, you'll be prompted for like passwords and stuff, but as you can see, before we ran the installer, it generated everything randomly for you, and that's what it's going to use, and it pre-answers prompts that might occur during the install. So this will probably be a pretty boring part of the video, but it's just downloading all the packages it needs. It's going to make them work all in one, and they're all going to be happy, and you're going to have a web server that works and can run any kind of software that works with PHP, Apache. It even integrates with the Nginx if you would rather use that as your web server. And there's options to change it in the panel, and I'll show you that once the panel is installed. So I would say EHCP 4th edition is an alternative to cPanel or DirectAdmin, and in fact I kind of like it better because it just works better, it's got more features, and it's free. Open source, so anybody can help join the development. Right now it's just me, so I'm sure there's some bugs, and I actually have posted about this in our forums that I could use more QA testers and people testing in general, and I use VirtualBox to do all my testing, and I just have several instances of different versions of Ubuntu with snapshots that I restore and go through this install process to make sure everything runs smooth for you when you run it. Alright, so now that EHCP Force has been installed, you can access it by loading up your browser and going to localhost. So this is the default web page. You can click a link there for your control panel. So your login was saved before, and I'm going to go and grab it right now. It's in that root directory for the root user. So it's going to be in root and EHCP info. Alright, so my admin password is that one, and the login is admin. So I'm logged in. This is the new Picante theme that I have written, which I think is really cool because it can offer you a nice clean look, and it's also very customizable per user. So say your favorite color is blue, well, you can pick blue, a color of blue, whatever you want. So kind of like that one, and then it's been saved. So when you log in again, this color scheme will be remembered. You can also pick a contrast style. There's light and dark, and this is an EHCP Force exclusive. I don't like some of the UI stuff that's going on in the default theme of the regular EHCP version, so I created this new theme, and it's also got every single new feature that I put into Force Edition that the other EHCP doesn't have. So let me just switch over to dark real quick, show you what that looks like. So I've got a dark theme, and that's now saved in the database too, so that when I log in, it's going to look like that. Alright, so this is the EHCP Force panel, and you can do a lot of things. You can add new users, you can add resellers, you can add domains, you can add FTP accounts, you can add MySQL databases, you can add email addresses, email accounts, and you can schedule backups. You can do all sorts of awesome stuff. Some of the new features that I add is you can now add server cron jobs, and you can also schedule remote backups. And the remote backups are really cool and good because they'll back up everything on your web server, and then they can send it to another host, like say your backup storage location. So it doesn't just create a backup and store it locally on the server, it can send it over through SCP or FTP to another host. So that's what that looks like. It's limited because I wanted to keep it simple, but you can schedule between those hours and these days so that it works on a date, and it happens every week. Now you can run a cron job yourself in the cron job and set it up, and you can have things run whenever you want. But so I offer that new functionality, which is really cool and it works great. So let me just show you a few things you can do here. So this main options tab takes you to what you see when you first log in. So that's, you haven't selected a domain that's added to your panel, because there are domain specific options so that you can add subdomains and stuff like that. And then there's just your general panel options, which include users and kind of system operations, if you will. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an account or a domain to my account. So it's going to be under the admin account. First I have to set up an FTP default account for this account, so I'm just going to set it up right now with test and test, which is terrible, so don't use that when you're installing it. But anyways, so that's been created. Now I'm going to add a domain of test.com just to show you guys. Alright, so the domain's been created. Now if I wanted to manage domains for that, I could go to select domain up here, and now it shows up in the list here. So if I click on test.com, notice how the Manage tab now becomes ManageTest.com. If you want to go to this home screen, which deals specifically only with Test.com, you can click on this middle button here, and it'll take you back to this main screen. So you can add subdomains. Custom HTTP is a setting that you can enable or disable depending on whether or not it has admin rights, because a lot of these functions only apply if you have admin rights, because you don't want users editing the Apache template or the DNS template, stuff like that. So you can set up slave and master DNS domain, which is nice for when you have multiple servers, and I use this quite a bit, and it's also a feature that's exclusive to EHCP Force. You could do a lot of things specifically just for that domain, so you can add an email account for the domain. I don't think easy install scripts work, and I don't think they ever did. They may work. This is something I haven't tested because I hardly use this anyways. Like if you're going to install forums, just upload the files and run the installer, because the easy install scripts is something that needs some work, and when I forked it over, that's one of the features I have not focused on at all. But I think most of this other stuff should work. I don't know if statistics works or not. But I know the main core functionality that you'd ever need for a web server, it all works, because I use this all the time on all my servers. So I'm going to go back to the home, so I'm going to deselect the domain basically, so it's no longer managing test.com. I'm looking at the system operations, and you can add new clients and specify what how many domains they can be able to add, how many email addresses they can have, how many databases they can have, and what's FTP, how many FTP they can have. So PHP admin is available, and so is webmail, which we use squirrel mail through this. So this is the panel right here, and I'm going to go back to the light theme just because I like just things simple like this. This theme does support French and Spanish. The way that's done may be changed in the future, but I do like this panel quite a bit because it just works great for adding domains and managing SQL databases and stuff like that. So just to show you that FTP really does work, because there are some VSFTPD problems, but those have been corrected in EHCP Force, so that it should work out of the box on any version of Ubuntu. So I'm just going to go and connect up to my local host here, and I created it with test and test. As you can see, I'm in to my own local server, and files for the web go into the HTTP docs folder. So you can see that, and you have a variety of options that you can choose from under options. So you can change your DNS IP address, your admin name, your admin email address. Don't change the directory. You can add a banner. You can change the default template. You can specify whether you want to run Apache in SSL, or if you want to switch over to Nginx and run that in SSL, or you can even do a mixed mode. So let me just show you that. So if I go to advanced settings here, I can choose different web server types. I can choose Nginx or Apache, and then I can also do SSL only. SSL is mixed. SSL only is SSL only, and it already generates a certificate for you, so you don't have to worry about that. It should just work. So if you change it to SSL, so I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to change it to both mixed mode, and I'll show you that in a second. The daemon runs every 10 seconds, so after you've added something, it will take 10 seconds before it applies, per se. So that's just a little caveat there. Anyways, I'm going to go back to the main screen. And it looks like it probably just did it right now. So let me see if I can access HTTPS. So I can. It's a self-signed certificate, so you have to add an exception in your browser. And then I'm just going to confirm the security exception. And I'm in with HTTPS now, and HTTP should also work. And it does. So you can access both. So that's kind of a cool feature, and that works globally for all domains that you add to the panel. So that's just some of the features that are available with the EHCP Force. Let me add a new user so I can show you that it is customizable per user, the theme settings here. So I'm just going to use test and test and test and test.local. Alright, so I've added a user called test. I'm going to sign out of the admin account, and I'm going to go to test. This is just a normal user. They should not be able to add any clients because they are not a reseller, and you specify in the options that they don't have that. So anyways, it's green because that's the default color we start off with, but say I like yellow, some kind of yellow color, or let's do red. So say I like some kind of red color like that. Alright, so that's saved, and I like the dark style, so it's been saved. I'm going to sign out here. I'm going to sign back in as test and test, and you'll see that the theme-specific settings have carried over, and it remembers the color and remembers that I wanted the dark contrast. So let me go back in as admin, and it'll remember the old settings that I had for admin. So I think that's pretty sweet, because the colors automatically change depending on what you picked on, and the color scheme is still readable no matter what you choose.